This is going to be a little bit different than usual. This is more of some words of encouragement for you, because if you're sitting here thinking how beautiful and how perfect my absolutely seemingly perfect red dress here is, then you would be incorrect. It's definitely not perfect. There are many flaws and I'm going to point them all out to you. Why? Because we can all be so hard on ourselves. I know you can be very too hard on yourself, on your craft, on your art. And the point is that there is no end point to wanting to change things and do something differently next time. And noticing these flaws is actually a good thing, and I'm going to show you why. My dear sewing friends, welcome. My name's Evelyn Wood and I'm the creator of VintageSewingSchool.com. If it's your first time here, welcome. So this is a little bit different, as I said. I see this come up so often, all too often, in that we are so critical and too hard on ourselves, on our art and our craft and our garments that we make. And let me see if this is you. Have you replied to a comment of someone has said, you know, that I've made this, and they've said, oh my goodness, that is amazing. And you reply, instead of just saying, smiling and saying thank you, you reply with something along the lines of, oh yeah, but I really mucked up, the zip is all wonky, and the hem is like all twisted and I didn't stitch it right, and don't even look at the insides because it's a total mess and disaster. I think you know what I mean, right? And if you finished up a garment and instead of putting it on and thinking, oh, it's amazing, all you can do is look at all of the bits and pieces, all of the flaws, the mistakes that you've made, and you can't see past them, and it just gets a bit overwhelming and a bit disheartening, then this video is for you. Because, well, I know we sit there and we think that at one point there'll be this magic point that we get to, that there's no more mistakes and everything is perfect after that. And you look at people on the internet and what they're making, and they just look like fantastic dressmakers that never seem to make a mistake, and look at them and just, wow, I want to get there. The point is that even in, I know you're probably sitting here thinking this is like a perfect red dress, right? It is absolutely not. There are many flaws, and I'm going to point them all out to you, as I said, in just a moment. And that is the point. There is no point that you get to. There's no amazing professional dressmaker and that you wouldn't do something differently next time. It's not that there are even mistakes. You're always learning. We're always progressing our skills. And there is no point that you get to that mistakes or things that you want to change or do differently stop. It's just as your skills progress, they're just different things that you change. And because you don't notice certain things as your skills go on, let me explain. When I first started sewing, there is absolutely no way I would actually see all of the mistakes that are on this garment, so to say. I'm just calling them mistakes. They're not really mistakes, they're just things I would change and do differently next time. I literally wouldn't even be able to see what they are because my skills just weren't there yet. I was looking at the messy stitching and the facings all wonky and all those types of things. And that's my point, is that the things that you change and do, just as you notice different things, as you keep going, your skills increase, you notice different things. And this is a good thing. When you start to notice things that are messy or could be better or what you'll do differently next time, this is a good thing because it means your skills are progressing. And when you start to see these things, that's an indication of your skill level raising and growing with you. And of course, it's not about making mistakes. They're inevitable. They happen. It's just how you deal with them and how you move on. Take your lessons from those mistakes and just move on forward and change what you're doing and keep going, moving forward. That's what counts. And now I'm not trying to be nitpicky on my own work here at all as I point these things out. That's not about it at all. I didn't even give them a second thought. It came to me as I was looking at, well, one of them is the buttonholes of a vintage sewing school, and made me think like, oh yeah, it's wrong. But so what? I don't care. It doesn't matter. I know what to do differently next time, and that is the point. And I thought that is what I need to make a video about here, because we can be too hard on ourselves and think that other people have these perfect garments, and there is no perfect, absolutely no perfect. And as I said, and different things that you notice is just an indication of your skill level. As you grow, you'll start to notice different things. All right, I know you've been dying to hear it. What's wrong with this red dress then? Okay, now I keep saying wrong and mistakes and all this thing. It's not really that. It's just that different things that I would change next time to make them better. So let me explain this dress. This dress is a sample garment, or it was put into production for my year-old vintage fashion house, a clothing label that I used to run. So first of all, I used to make all these myself and do vintage alterations, professional dressmaker, and had a vintage reproduction clothing label that I ran. And this was one of my designs, a 1954. This is the Mabel dress. Might be a few people here. If you have one of these dresses, oh my gosh, please let me know in the comments. Anyway, I've since long finished my label and don't do that anymore. I teach now, that is what I do, and that's why we're here. And so this is a standard stock size medium. This wasn't actually custom built to my body or anything like that, but it doesn't really matter because there's lots of things here that I would do differently if I was to make this differently next time. Let's have a look really closely here. Because one of these things is that the darts are way too high for me. So this is my dart line. Let me use this here. This is my dart line. This is my bust point. There is no way they are the same. So this actually on me needs to be way down here. And my dart that comes up from the waist here is all the way up here, which is completely over the top of my bust point. Now I did say this wasn't custom made to me, but you didn't even notice that, did you, until I pointed it out. Now this one is one that actually prompted me to think of this dress for this video, and that is under these buttonholes. I bet you can see a bit of skin. So look at this, you can see skin under there. That is not supposed to be like that. So how this eventuated is that, well, this was one that I had pattern made and constructed all the samples for myself, and was experimenting with having other makers make them for me. And so they thought it in their best wisdom to change where the buttonholes are, because they decided that the button, when finished, should sit no more than sort of 5-6 millimeters away from the finished edge here. And so the buttons then ended up closer this way, which means the extension and the overlap in here, the extension is this overlap, is now less than it should be. So one, yes, it did change the size a little bit, but two, it also means that then this should have been over here. And so your extension is supposed to actually cover where your buttonholes are underneath, so that there's no skin showing at all. Now, this is a fine line with larger buttons like this, because it means you're supposed to have half a button width here and to here. Now, I won't go into more technical details, but that's how it equates, so that you end up with enough extension on the other side. They decided to not do that and make them only 6 mils, and that means that I have now skin showing underneath on the buttonholes here, like this, rather than being like this. And even if the buttonhole went here, my facing is out here. And so does it really matter? No, you can't really tell. Buttonholes stay close enough, and I bet you would never, ever, ever even notice that if I didn't point it out to you. But it is something that I would definitely do differently next time, because showing the little bits of skin, not good, not good. But you know what? Moving on, doesn't matter. Now this is a big one. I bet you didn't notice either. So the waistline is actually way off on this garment. So it's way too high for me, and it's on a different tilt. So it's kind of disguised with my belt here. But can you see that seam all the way up here? So my belt is sitting here, it's being held in with some belt keepers here. If it was sitting natural, it would actually sit down here. That is where the small of my back is, and where my actual natural waist lies is actually just under this. And so you can see the seam then at the front is even above here, because my waist tilts. It's not straight. The waistline is really not on my waistline at all. And so if I was going to make this again, you bet I would absolutely tweak and fix that up. But you know, we can disguise things, it's fine. The proportions of the garment still all work, because it was just the standard stock size. But for me personally, it's really not working. And I bet Did you notice that before I pointed it out? If I had just twirled around, would you even notice that my waistline was not sitting at my waistline? And so because of my tilted waistline, that means generally that the back skirt is always a little bit longer at the back there because my waist does tilt as well. And I have lots of skirts that have that problem because maybe I didn't fix them up, but you know what? It's something that I look at and think, I have to do that differently next time to get the result that I want. Did you notice? Like I said to begin with, this isn't about nitpicking my own work here at all. It's just to show you that even the most, I'm sure I would have sat here and thought this dress was just perfect and amazing, and how could there be anything wrong with it? But that's to show you that no matter where you get with your skill level, the things that you'll do, there's always things that you'll change and do differently next time, and that is a good thing. Noticing these types of things means that your skills are progressing and that you're achieving and you're getting better and better results. And you start noticing the tiny, tiny little itty bitty things that don't even matter. That means that your skills are increasing, and that is a good thing. You should be super proud of your work and not answer when someone says you made that. That is incredible, amazing. Don't answer with all the things that are wrong. Just smile and say thank you. I promise, because that noticing these things is a good thing, and just take your lessons from it, and what you'll do differently next time, your garments will keep improving, and you'll have other people look at your garments and think that is perfect. What are you're crazy to point out all those flaws with it. They don't exist. And the cycle continues. I hope that you'll also pass this on to encourage someone else when they're first learning too. Okay, I think we should do something different in the comments. I really want to hear a compliment for yourself, from yourself, about your sewing. Leave yourself a compliment, something that you're proud of, that you've achieved in your sewing. I want to hear those down below. Remember, let's encourage each other here. Like and comment on everyone's comments, and let's cheer each other on in our sewing journeys, because that is what we do here. We are creating our craft, our art of making clothes. That is what we do, and we keep just getting better and better at every single garment. Until next time, my sewing friends, happy sewing. Bye.